See you. All right, very good. What is up, everybody? It looks like my guest is not going to be able to make it here today, and that's okay. I'm sure he's a great dude, and I'm sure that we'll have him back on the show another time. And the subject that we're going to talk about is one of my superpowers as well. So I'm going to fill the gap in. Him and I will be able to catch up on this. Maybe he will dive in midway through, but we've had that happen a couple times in the past. But you guys deserve the absolute best. So we're going to be diving into the number one secret to improve your results and how to use it. And that secret is accountability. You got to be willing to be accountable. You got to want it. You got to love it. You got to crave it. It's so important. All right. Welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Callum. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. Hey, and welcome into another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Callum, founder and CEO of First Class Business. And I'm excited to dive in and talk about accountability because it's something that I love and it's something that I crave. And it's something that is so polarizingly difficult for people to actually want and benefit from and utilize that. I think there needs to be more of a subject matter, more of a talk around it. And most of the entrepreneurs I've worked with in my life are really bad at accountability before they start working with me. And afterwards, a lot of them end up not liking me very much because I'm kind of a beast when it comes to being accountable. I want to make sure that we take appropriate responsibility for our actions and what we do. That is really the secret to growth. But without diving in too deep to the subject, I also want to make sure to highlight a couple of companies that I've been really impressed with lately. One of them is ColdClick. And so they are one of the sponsors of today's show. Art Hoffman runs ColdClick, and he helps us with our LinkedIn automation. So if you want to go check it out and see more about it, fantastic. What I can say right now is my connection rate. And this has, I'll be honest, this is more to do with my messaging than the system itself. We've always had pretty good connection rates, but his system and his people protect us with our automation. I have a 46% connection rate right now, and that's pretty good. If you're beating that, drop it in the comments. I'd be excited to see it. But I've seen lots of campaigns, lots of people running campaigns where you get like a 2%, a 5%, a 20%. But 46% is a great rate of connection. And the follow-up sequences as well are positive. That's another big thing. I've also seen companies use bait and switch and they get good connections, like a lot of people connecting, but a lot of the wrong people moving forward and a lot of the right people saying, like, get your case study out of my face. That's not good to do. Anyway, moving to SimplyFast. I met Shane Michael through not automation, but definitely through a system that helped me connect with him on Facebook. All right. And he built this system called SimplyFast, and it's his website starting at $179. And I was like, whoa, I know a lot of entrepreneurs that are, or entrepreneurs, especially people who are getting started, who could probably get started on something like that. And if I could have the type of branding back when I first started at that price, it would have been a game changer for sure. And so I highly recommend checking out what he's doing. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not, but I'm really happy to see people who are willing to empower the world with resources. And no, you're not going to have a site that competes with Google at $179, but it's a great place to get your feet wet if you've already passed the stage of trying to build it yourself, right? So there's nothing wrong with Squarespace and using that. There's nothing wrong with Wix and those other types of systems that exist. Even Canva, I think, has the ability to build. GoDaddy has a system that's awful. So does Vistaprint. There's lots of things there's lots of ways to do it, but that's another option for you. And that's what I'm all about. I want to make sure that you have options to build your visions and to move your brands forward. And like I said, I was pretty impressed with Shane. We've become friends, and I look forward to hosting him on the show very soon. Another quick thing, remaining accountable for the types of projects that we support. The water project, it's important for me to stay tuned. And this is a way to make sure that I never forget the value of what this entity does. I specifically want to remember this on a weekly basis and make sure that I'm thinking of these children and these communities, these mothers and fathers, grandmas, aunts, uncles, whoever has to go get water. These people are having to walk miles often in order to get to a source of water, not even just a clean one that, they have to take a great risk on. And I don't have to deal with that. So I wanted to make sure that we give people the opportunity to give back. And if this is a cause that you think you could support, then it's very easy. Just go on there, give $1, give 10, give 10,000, however much you're able to give. And it's actually going to show you when the project is completed. You'll get a memo letting you know what was accomplished. And they'll even send you the social media proof, like the photos and stuff, the social proof, not social media proof, of what's going on in that community, how they created their borehole well or their sand dam. And, you get to know that your money was put to good use. Now, if you have a charity you recommend more, then by all means, share that charity into the comments. Let us know. I might contribute to it. Especially if you call me out and you're like, Jackson, I want you to give to this charity. Like I can do that, right? And I'm willing to be accountable for that, which is exactly what we're going to talk about. It's funny. It looks like Eric's in the background now. I can't see him though. His video is not connected. So I'm going to keep going on accountability. We're actually having a shorter episode today. I was going to test out a new format, but I also want to get to an event for my daughter. That matters to me a lot. And so we're going to do a little bit shorter episode. If Eric can get his camera on, I'll bring him on with me so we can talk about that. If not, Eric, I know you can hear me right now. Then we will have another episode where you and I dive in and talk about improving results, accountability, how the whole process works, why somebody would want to work with you, etc. But feel free to hang in there and try to connect and jump on, and we'll probably be great friends and remember this for life because of the situation. Hey, there we are. Let me pull him on stage in just a minute. So I got in touch with Eric M. Twiggs, and he is the accountability coach. So I was going to dive into some of my accountability tips without him here, but with him here now, I can kind of put him on the spot and we'll get started. So Eric, welcome to Vision Pros Live.
Hey, thank you. It's truly an honor to be on your platform.
Absolutely, man. And you know what? I called your phone. I got your voicemail, and it talked about progress over perfection. And I love that. I was like, cool. And it works out. Like here we are, right? It's not perfect, but we're here now, and we're able to move forward. And what got you to decide to become an accountability coach?
Well, I think that's the key thing. And just in any of the clients that I've coached, that's really the one thing. And just from just hearing things and just being that's the one thing that's most requested. And I think that the accountability piece is what helps people to move forward. Because if you think about it, it's really hard for us to hold ourselves accountable to
Yeah.
a point. Because if it's something that's uncomfortable, it's easy if there's no accountability, it's easy for us not to do it, right? The easiest thing to do is nothing. That's why I think it's critical to have that voice of accountability, that presence of accountability to get you to move forward.
I like that. The easiest thing to do is nothing. You're right. It is, and it can be hard. So today, because we're behind on the show, and I didn't get to do the full intro with you and all of that, I'd recommend we do another show. I'm
Okay.
happy to have you here color commentate. I'll kind of set the rhythm for those who are listening already. So feel free to dive in, and we're going to be doing, like I said, a little bit shorter episode. We'll probably go for about 10 more minutes before I have to head out. And I called this episode the number one secret to improving your results and how to use it. So for me, accountability is everything. Like I am, and I know a lot of people say this, but I am so big into accountability. I annoy the living crap out of people. I am a very different type of person in terms of like, I want people to tell me when I'm wrong. I want people to help me find a clear path. I want to make sure that I got systems set up to ultimately obligate me into getting things done. But I wasn't always like that. It was a process of recognizing that I had to figure out that I was valuable in the world just for existing before I could start accepting the reality that people are welcome to nitpick me and teach me things that I don't necessarily know about myself. That's kind of what accountability is allowing people to point out your flaws or point out your strengths and help you recognize how to do things differently. How else would you define it, Eric?
I just think it's critical. So like the key is you have to be open to it. And I can tell you some of the top performers that I've worked with, they are open to receiving hard coaching. And
Yes.
I can have that what's called radical candor, right? Where
Yes.
I can just really hit them between the eyes with opportunities, and that's what they want. That's
Yep.
some of the top performers that I've been around. Where some of the others, it's they may take it the wrong way or take it personally.
Hit me with some radical candor. Let's do this live so people know what that means.
So radical candor is
No,
brutally.
like hit me with one. What you got for me?
Uh, I can give you an example of radical
Yeah.
candor. So radical candor would be an example of, well, you know what? So you really shouldn't when you wear that shirt, for example. It
Uh-huh.
sends the wrong message. It's not. I'm just giving you an example of
Oh,
what
you mean
radical
it's not
candor.
an example for me. It's just an example.
Right. When you
Okay.
when you wear that shirt, it doesn't really send the right message. It's feedback that's brutally honest, right?
Yeah.
It it,
You're
it
being
really it's like
nice.
right, if somebody has got like greens in their teeth, and they're
Mm-hmm.
sitting there, you want to be able to tell them, hey, you got the greens in the teeth. Not telling them doesn't do them any good. So,
Right.
so that's really how radical candor
Yeah, I'm
works.
glad you brought that up. We had a football coach yelling at us, trying to get home his message. He had booger hanging out of his nose, like a bad one.
Right.
And he didn't recognize it, right? And so he is fired up, drilling us. Like this is like it's first time we've seen him do this in 2 years. Nobody remembers the message. All we remember, all we heard the whole time, and nobody, he was so fired up, like he wouldn't give any space for anybody to jump in. So we were kids, we didn't jump in, but man, I never wanted to be in that zone, in that experience, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen, but I mean, I think guys, it's important to all of us listening in, like some radical candor. What does that look like? And can you deliver radical candor with love? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Right. So the other thing that you can do is make space for understanding, and you can still maintain a relationship. We'll see what happens. I'm going to do my best with Eric. All right. So, and we're going to go back to it. So Eric was here late, for the show. We've got an email and series that goes out and that says, we need you 10 minutes early so we can wrap before we get going. And for whatever reason, he wasn't able to be here. So the radical candor is, Eric, that's going to affect your ability to impress the audience, right? Your ability, the people who are all about being on time, they're probably going to be very judgmental about this experience. And that's okay. That's just a reality, right? I've shared the candor. I've shared the truth of a matter that exists. But here's my question. Does that take away the true value that Eric Twiggs is and has to offer? I'm curious about your answer on that.
No, absolutely not.
Very
No.
good. Absolutely not. I love the absolute. I'm not a big fan of absolute words. This is a time where it absolutely matters. I agree. Why is that, Eric?
Well, yeah, because it's about the performance. It's not about the person. So I mean, you have to take the feedback. That's how we get better. I mean, no one's perfect. You're
So
gonna
how do
make
you take the
mistakes.
feedback like that? If somebody were to get mad at you, be like, "Hey, dude, you're late to my show. How could you do this?" Blah blah blah. Like how do you, as a leader, how do you train people to receive feedback like that? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, I think you have to look. You have to own it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything starts with ownership. And at the end of the day, so here's what I work off of. Everything that happens, it's my fault. I don't look to blame and say, well, I didn't see the email until the last minute, or I was just looking at my calendar and there was no invitation or anything of those natures. At the end of the day, you know what? I should have figured it out. It's my fault. So I work with people to take ownership. So once
Yes.
you take ownership, you can fix it.
Oh, dude, I
So,
love that. And it allows you to come in more even kill too. Cause like
sure.
you're not trying to hide something under the rug. You're not, that just makes you busy doing other things. You have to find new ways to be productive. So I'm going to flip the script on that. Okay. And I want you to also correlate this, like help me out on it if we need to. What can I do better on my end? Is
Okay.
there something me or my team can also improve on in order to make sure that our future guests, are on time? Is there something that we can do to simplify the process? Because one thing we didn't do that I know already is we did not have the StreamYard link in the
In the
calendar
calendar.
invite.
Yeah. So yeah, from a radical candor standpoint, it would be helpful to put the actual StreamYard invite. The one thing for me, I host a podcast myself, and that's what I do. I was expecting to see that, and I'm on podcast all the time. So when I
Yeah.
didn't see the link, I'm assuming, oh, maybe I saw my phone number. I'm assuming maybe that you were going to call, and I happened to see my email. But yeah, so in the future, yeah, definitely that would increase the timeliness of future guests if the link is in the calendar.
Absolutely. So, everybody who's listening in, what I want you to realize is if you exercise the same type of willingness to do what's called a 360-degree evaluation, right? What happened on the outside, but also what happened on the inside, then you position yourself to cultivate more results because you're learning what you need to do in order to improve in the future. And so it was kind of fun to challenge Eric on it. You could have gotten mad and left, and then this episode would have been really funny, and you didn't. Now it's really productive, and I'm like, cool, man. I got somebody who gets the nature of being accountable, and at the same time knows how to facilitate providing it. So on our end, that's one of the things that we absolutely must have in place. Is those StreamYard links will go out. And Jaime had his last day as our show producer on Friday of last week. So we are without our show producer, and rather we're training Cynthia on the process. Her and I are saying, okay, all these cool things that Jaime implemented along the way to make this show really stand out, do we have them documented? Are we following them? Are we also going to pick up the torch from where he's at and continue to improve it? Right, that's incredibly important. And I agree with you, man. I have worked with some outstanding individuals in life, and it's funny that usually the more outstanding the result, and for terms of like what their ROI is, the more they have a notepad ready and are eager to get the feedback of how can we move this up, how can we improve. Tom Brady doesn't want to be told how great his throw was. He's tired of hearing that. He wants to know what can he do to make it even better. That's what I've seen. So.
Oh, for sure. After they want to be coached hard, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, anybody that's a high performer, they want the feedback to kind of give them that edge.
Absolutely. So you got to want it. You got to want it in order to really benefit from an accountability coach. So, Eric, I'd love to host you again in the future. We are going to, like I said, wrap up a little bit sooner than later. I'd like to talk about your book. We'll drop these elements in the show notes still. We'll take a few minutes to wrap up afterwards, but Vision Pros, if you were tuning in for some quick, powerful advice, you just got it from both of us. You got to see it live in action. If you have accountability tips and tricks, feel free to provide them. And if you're looking for somebody who's going to help sharpen your sword and help you be the absolute best at what you're willing to do, then of course, feel free to reach out to Eric. Eric, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So they can visit my website, ericmtwiggs.com. That's ERICM Twiggs, TWIGGS.com, where they can pick up a copy of my book, The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I will say I'll end on this then. I'm glad that Eric is driven around principles. Principles are what matters. The fads go away. The principles will stand the test of time. So Vision Pros, stick to your principles. Be accountable for your visions. Make sure they come true. And Eric, we will see you very soon. Thanks for joining us for this quick clip.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time.